Today we will talk about my parents aging. When I was a young person, my parents seemed frozen in place on terms of their age. But as I entered my 40s, 50s, and 60s, I had to recognize that my parents really are aging. I was blessed enough to have parents who lived into their 80s and 90s, and along with it comes some additional challenges. What happens when your parents are scammed by people who call them and tell them to send money? What happens when your parents need some in-home care? What happens when your parents go to the hospital? How do you cope and deal with all of this? It's a lot. It's a lot on every family member who wants to keep their parents as independent as possible. So the first thing that was imperative was for me to know my parents well. Many of us don't live in the same place as our parents, but that doesn't mean you can't know your parent well. A lot of children will call their parent every day or two, which I have done for many years when I did not live in the same city. When I lived in the same city, I visited often, and you learn a lot. You learn about their habits, whether they're positive or negative. You learn about the people who are around your parents, and you learn about the things they do that are appropriate and inappropriate. For example, my mother probably drove far beyond the time that it was best for her to drive, so that was an issue. And my parents, of course, have tried to contribute to many, many charities, sometimes at their peril. And my parents have had people come to their house in the middle of the night, which they need protection from. So what you need to do as your parents age is know them well. Know their health. Know what conditions they have. This is important for you as well. Know their expenses. Get an understanding as to any kinds of habits that may or may not be the best for them. I was fortunate enough to have parents who didn't gamble a lot. My mom gambled with driving, but that was different than gambling with money. So, and my parents were of the Depression era, and so they were almost afraid to spend money for so many years, it became a habit. So spending money was never an issue. It was how many times is my mom going to reuse her plastic baggies or clean and reuse her foil. My father was not quite that much of a reuser. He didn't save string anymore, but they had many, many rubber bands that they saved and had quite an expansive collection. So, knowing your parents' health, understanding some about their finances helps you to know their fragile areas. You can keep an eye on whether they're driving long distance. You can know if they need to go to the hospital, what kinds of things you need to look for, and if your parents go through any kind of replacement of joints. My father had his hip replaced at 90. My mother had her hip replaced not once but twice. And we will discuss in detail the important things that had to be addressed at those journeys. But most of all, know your parents. If you begin this journey by knowing them, knowing their friends, knowing the things they love to do, then you can be far more powerful in helping them age with grace. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining Lynn's Light. We hope the ideas, the creativity, and the issues that we went through with our family can be applied to you for generations to come. We all have aging family members, and all we want to do is empower you. This is never intended to be legal advice. Good luck.